I clocked out of work early that day, skipped the company's bonus dinner, and paid $540 for a one-way flight to get home in time for Christmas Eve. When I got there, my spot at the table had a sticky note on it, just a little pink square that said, "Reserved for Brian's fiancée." "She's new," my mom explained casually, like that cleared it all up. "We figured you wouldn't mind standing," she added, as if that was perfectly reasonable. I didn't make a scene. I just nodded and quietly picked up my bag, then walked right back out the door. 31 minutes later, my sister sent a text. "So sensitive." It wasn't a big deal. I stared at it for a second, heart pounding. Then I opened my banking app and hit pause on the monthly family support. But the thing that truly flipped the switch for me came later, something my dad said at exactly 9:04 p.m. That's what finally made it clear. I'd flown across the whole damn country for this. A $540 flight, one way. Left work at noon, skipped out on a free dinner, stuffed a few things into a duffel bag, and rushed to the airport like a madman. Because I thought showing up still counted. Because I believed family mattered. I hadn't seen them in person since last Christmas. We'd had the usual video chats, the generic birthday texts, the half-hearted, "miss you too" emojis. But this year, I decided to actually come home. In my head, I pictured the smell of ham in the oven, the burnt cookies from Mom's first batch, the way Dad always choked up during the midnight prayer. I even pictured my seat, my usual place at the table. Only this time, it was already taken. Literally taken. I walked into the dining room, still dripping from the snow, holding a soggy gift bag with Dad's favorite whiskey inside. And that's when I saw it. That little pink note stuck to the back of a dining chair. "Reserved for Brian's fiancée." That was all it said. No wink. No smiley face. No, "just kidding." Just those 5 words, written in my mom's familiar handwriting. I stood there, staring at it like maybe it would vanish if I looked hard enough. Then Mom came out of the kitchen, grinning like everything was normal. "She's new," she repeated, like that made it okay. "We figured you'd be fine standing," she said, like she'd offered me a glass of water. Standing. As if I was the waiter. Or worse, like I didn't belong there at all. I said sure. Quiet. Automatic. Then I grabbed my bag, turned around, and walked back out into the cold. I'd only made it about half an hour down the icy street when my phone buzzed. So sensitive. It wasn't a big deal. That's all the message said. No name. Just that. From my sister. I just stared at it, thumb hovering over the reply button. My heart was pounding. Instead of answering, I pulled up my banking app. Paused all the support transfers. Done. But what my dad said at 9:04 p.m., that's when the ground really shifted for me. It wasn't the sticky note itself. That was just the spark. The fumes had been building for years. I didn't drive back to the hotel. Instead, I pulled into a gas station just down the road, let the engine run, and blasted the heat until my ears started to burn. That's when the thoughts started rolling in. The truth? I've always been the one who made things easier for them. When I landed my first real tech job, Dad said, "Now you can finally take care of your family." He didn't mean it as a joke. He meant it like a command. Start covering the bills. So I did. I quietly started paying for their internet, car insurance, even helped with their winter heating bills. No big speeches. No reminders. Just did it. Because, well, that's what a good son is supposed to do, right? Brian? He was the dreamer. Dropped out of college. Spent a couple of years bouncing from couch to couch, trying to find himself. Then came the failed ski startup that left him broke and bruised. I let him crash at my place for 9 months. Rent-free. I even paid for the therapy sessions he swore would help him get his head on straight. Last year, when Mom needed dental surgery and insurance didn't cover the full $3,400, guess who picked up the slack? That's right, Smith. When Dad's old Ford finally gave out and he needed a reliable car to get to church, I co-signed on a new lease. I never said a word about it. Not once. Even when I had to say no to vacations. Even when I was living on peanut butter sandwiches so I could send money for their cable bill. So when my sister hit me with, "So sensitive," I swear, I wanted to chuck my phone right into a snowbank. I didn't. Instead, I opened our family group chat. Scrolled back through months of messages. That's when I started to see it, the pattern. Every time I shared good news, got a raise, landed a new client, took a work trip, there'd be one or two half-hearted replies. Maybe a thumbs up. But when Brian's girlfriend baked cookies, 27 comments. 3 heart emojis. Mom even wrote, "She's such a keeper." It didn't stop there. I remembered last July. I'd flown in to surprise Mom on her birthday. Got in around midnight, crashed on the couch because Brian had, temporarily, taken my old room. Woke up the next morning and the house was empty. They'd taken Brian's girlfriend, his now fiancée, wine tasting. Left me a sticky note on the fridge that said, "Back by 5. Make yourself comfortable." They didn't even save me a piece of cake. And still, I paid the gas bill for August. Because that's how I was raised. Be reliable. Be steady. Be the one who holds things together. Be invisible. Meanwhile, Brian could show up with bad credit, a suitcase full of broken dreams, and a woman he met 3 months ago, and they would bend over backward to make space for her. They even gave her my chair. That sticky note wasn't just about where to sit. It was their way of saying, "You don't matter here anymore." So I picked up the phone and made a few calls. Cancelled all the automatic transfers I'd set up years ago. Then I got in touch with the accountant and told him to hit pause on the family trust contributions, the same fund I'd been quietly filling for years, just because Dad didn't want his retirement tangled up with the IRS. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I did something purely for myself. I ordered takeout. Thai food. Extra spicy. I sat alone in that motel room, the glow from my laptop flickering while Netflix ran in the background. And honestly, for the first time in years, I didn't feel anxious. I didn't feel angry. I felt clear. Focused. That lasted until 9:04 p.m. That's when my phone rang. Dad was calling. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But then I tapped answer. "Hey," I said, voice flat as a board. There was a pause, one of those heavy ones where the silence says more than words. "You left," he finally said. "Sure did," I replied. "Your mom's upset." "She's also the one who handed my chair to a stranger," I said. Another pause. Even longer. "She didn't mean anything by it." "Let's pretend she didn't," I said. "What about Brian texting me 2 hours ago asking if I could help pay for their wedding next summer?" Silence. "Right?" I said, letting that hang. "You didn't know about that." Dad exhaled, a long, familiar kind of sigh. The one I'd heard 1,000 times when he didn't want to deal with the truth. "You know how things are," he murmured. "Brian's not as fortunate as you." "Fortunate." I laughed, bitter. "No, Brian's reckless. I'm just the one cleaning up after him. He's improving. She's been good for him. Yeah, she's also sitting in my seat." "Don't be dramatic," he said. There was the golden phrase. The go-to line they used whenever I dared to push back. I closed my eyes, rubbed the bridge of my nose. "You know what, Dad? I'm done being the guy who works 60 hours a week so the rest of you can keep pretending everything's fine. I'm done being your backup plan." "We never asked for that," he replied. "That's crap," I shot back. "You didn't have to ask. You expected it. Just because I never said anything, you assumed I was okay with it. Well, I'm not. I haven't been for a long time." There was nothing on the other end. Just silence. Then quietly he said, "Son, it's Christmas Eve." "And I'm spending it alone," I said, my voice steady. "In a motel next to a gas station. Because you wanted to make sure Brian's fiancée felt welcome more than you wanted your own son at the table." He didn't say a word after that. So I ended the call. And for 4 days I didn't hear a single thing from him. I didn't have plans to go back, not after what happened. Not after what didn't happen. Then, 3 days after Christmas, Brian called. His name popped up on my screen. My first instinct was to let it ring. But curiosity's a nasty little itch. I picked up. "What?" There was a hesitation on the other end. Then, "Hey man. Weird question. Did you cancel the family support transfers?" I leaned back in my chair. "Yeah." "You didn't tell anyone?" "Didn't need to," I said. "Okay," he replied slowly, dragging the word out like it was stuck in his throat. Well, things are kind of tight. January's mortgage didn't go through. I'm aware, I said. He went quiet again. Then, in the most forced, syrupy voice I've ever heard from him, maybe we could talk? I laughed, loud and honest. Oh, now you want to talk? What's the matter, Brian? Run out of sticky notes. It was just a seat, bro. No, I said. It was a message. And you and Mom made sure I got it loud and clear. Then I hung up. 5 minutes later, Mom texted. Can we meet for coffee? Please. It's not what you think. I didn't reply. Because I already knew what was coming. Dad called that night. I let it ring. He left a voicemail. I think we need to talk. Face to face. Sunday dinner. I stared at the phone, heart pounding. Sunday dinner. That old ritual. Pot roast, apple pie, and everyone pretending they weren't quietly draining me dry. Something inside me whispered, go. But not to make peace. Not to forgive. To finish something. So that Sunday evening, I showed up. Knocked once, then walked in like I always had. The house looked spotless. Too spotless. Like they were staging it for a ceasefire. Mom came out first, apron tied, smiling like we hadn't just gutted each other over the holidays. Dad was in his armchair, holding his reading glasses like he was pretending to be in the middle of something important. Brian and his fiancée sat on the couch. She wouldn't even meet my eyes. Probably too ashamed. Dinner's almost ready, Mom chirped, like nothing had happened. No need, I said, standing firm. I'm not here to eat. Everyone froze. I came to say a few things I should have said a long time ago. Sweetheart, Mom started. No, I cut her off. You don't get to call me that. Not after what you did. It was just a post-it note? I said, laughing bitterly. You think this is about a chair? That was the last straw. This is about 20 years of being treated like a utility instead of a person. Always the dependable one. Never the son, just the solution. Brian rolled his eyes and scoffed. Dude, you're being dramatic again. Don't, I warned. Just don't. Then I looked at Dad. You let this happen. You watched me grind through 60-hour work weeks, pay your bills, skip vacations, and all while throwing parties every time this clown remembered to brush his teeth. You let him take my seat, and then ask me for money while he was still sitting in it. And the worst part? You all assumed I'd just keep doing it. Dad stood up, slow and deliberate. We never asked you to. Exactly, I said. You didn't ask. You expected. Because I never said no. Brian leaned forward, like he had something smart to say. You were always the one with money. You don't even have kids. It wasn't a big deal. I turned to him. There was a fire burning in my chest. You want to know what's really a big deal? Working 60 hours a week so Mom can keep her cable TV and you can throw a fancy rustic vineyard wedding for your Tinder date. I was good enough to pay for your therapy, but not good enough to have a seat at the dinner table. Mom looked like she might cry. We didn't mean to hurt you, she said softly. You didn't mean anything, I shot back. That's the problem. You never stopped to think. Not about me. Only about what I could give. The room went silent. Then I pulled an envelope out of my jacket and slammed it on the table. What's this? Dad asked. My taxes, I said. I'm not doing them this year. You'll need to find a new CPA. Mom blinked, confused. I transferred the car lease back to your name. Cut off the insurance. And you've got 60 days before the health coverage under my name expires. Brian looked up, puzzled. That wedding fund you asked about? Spend it on chairs. Wait, you're not serious, Mom gasped. Oh, I'm dead serious. You made room for someone else at the table. Now I'm making room for myself. And with that, I walked out. They didn't follow. Didn't stop me. This time, they knew exactly what I meant. When I left that house, I expected silence. But what I didn't expect was how peaceful that silence felt. The kind of silence that wraps around you like armor. No buzzing phones. No guilt trips. No, can you just help this once? That always turned into a dozen favors. Just quiet. Monday morning, I walked into the office wearing a smile that surprised the receptionist. "You win the lottery?" she joked. I laughed. Kind of. Didn't explain. But that was the first day in years I drank my coffee hot. Ate lunch without checking my bank account after sending money for rent. Slept through the night without waking to a text from Brian begging, "Bro, can you help me out till Friday?" By Wednesday, the messages started coming in. First, from Mom. "Honey, your father's upset. He says we need to talk." Ignored. Then Brian. "Hey man, Dad says you canceled their dental insurance? That's messed up. Also, do you still have the Hulu login? We can't get in." I blocked him. Then came the call from Dad. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail that started calm and ended like a threat. "I just don't understand how you can abandon your family like this. After everything we've done for you." I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. After everything they'd done for me? Like giving my chair away to a stranger? Like taking every bailout I offered and still treating me like the problem whenever I set a boundary? Not this time. They expected me to cave. To feel guilty. To walk it back like always. Instead, I did something worse, at least for them. Thrive. I signed up for a 2-week photography retreat in Oregon. Something I'd wanted forever but never could afford because I was always covering someone else's bills. I rejoined the gym. Took long walks. Deleted the family group chat. Blocked my sister when she added me back. I went out for drinks with a few coworkers and, for once, told the truth about why I looked so tired all the time. "My family's a financial black hole," I said. One guy raised his glass. "Respect," he said. Respect meant something new now. It wasn't about avoiding conflict. It was about saying, enough is enough. Then, just when I thought I'd left all that behind, the phone rang again. 9:04 p.m. exactly 2 weeks after that Christmas Eve disaster. I almost didn't answer. The number was blocked. But I swiped anyway. "Hello." The voice on the other end was quiet. "Hey, it's Dad." He sounded older. Tired. "Okay," he said. "I'm at the hospital." I sat up. "What happened?" "Your mother collapsed in the kitchen. Dehydration. Doctor says it's nothing fatal, but she's shaken. And crying. Asking for you." I said nothing. "You made your point," he added. Loud and clear. "Maybe now you can stop punishing us." My blood boiled. "Punishing you? You think I'm punishing you because I stopped being your ATM? My mom let me walk out of Christmas dinner like a ghost. Don't drag her tears into this." Silence. Then quietly, she told me about the chair. She said it was her idea. Thought Brian's fiancée would feel awkward otherwise. And nobody thought I might feel unwelcome? We didn't mean it that way. "That's the problem," I said. "You never mean it that way. But it's always the same story. I give and you take." More silence. Then he whispered, "I miss you, son." Something twisted inside me. Not pain. Not regret. Just clarity. "I miss who you used to be too," I said. "Before you sold me out for convenience." And I hung up. Days passed. Then I got a message. Not from Brian. From her. Brian's fiancée. The girl who took my seat. "Hey, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. But I just wanted to say, I didn't know." Then another message. Texts started arriving. One said my mom told her I'd be late and wasn't planning to stay long. She didn't know the full story until after I left. If she had, she swore she never would have taken my seat. Then came the real blow, another message from her. Brian had told her I was rich, that I wouldn't mind standing, that family didn't really matter to me anymore. She was sorry. I froze for a moment, unsure how to feel. But the truth hit hard. Brian knew I was coming. He instructed her to take my chair, fully aware of how it would hurt me. And he wanted that. Deep down, Brian always resented what I stood for: responsibility, success, owning the consequences. He was chaos in their eyes, the wild card they spoiled. I was the steady rock, the dependable one they leaned on but resented. Not anymore. The very next week, an email arrived from my parents, titled Resolution Proposal. Inside was a thick PDF full of spreadsheets, budgets, schedules, and plans outlining how they would become independent. It read like a business pitch, desperate and pleading for a second chance. They asked for 3 more months of transitional support before cutting financial ties completely. I stared at the figures, then hit delete. By March, their calls stopped. By April, I was removed from all shared accounts. Come May, I booked a solo trip to Barcelona. Somewhere between the plane ride and that first bite of tapas, I realized I didn't need them the way they'd made me believe. Not to define who I am. Not to validate me. And definitely not to control me. Barcelona was loud, but not because of traffic or festivals. It was loud because stepping out of someone else's shadow makes the world feel bigger, clearer. I wandered the Gothic quarter with my phone on airplane mode. No group chats. No Brian begging for money. No family voicemails. Just my footsteps on ancient cobblestones and the silence I earned. Every evening, I watched the sun set from a different part of the city. On the 4th night, a woman with wild curls and fierce eyes asked if she could join me at a rooftop bar. We talked for hours, about everything and nothing. She asked where I was from. I said, used to be a family man. Now just a man. She laughed. Sounds like freedom. I nodded. Finally, I felt free. Back home, life kept moving. I got promoted to lead systems architect. A coveted role with meetings, influence, and respect. My manager told me I'd been flying under the radar for too long, and now people were noticing. That hit me differently. For years I was the quiet fixer, at work, at home, everywhere. Now people not only needed me, they respected me. For the first time, I wasn't just a tool or a utility. In June, an unexpected package showed up, a wedding invitation for Brian and his fiancée. Rustic Vineyard, July 16th, RSVP deadline June 30th. I left it on the kitchen counter like a test I already knew I'd fail. The envelope was thick and fancy, and tucked inside the RSVP card was a handwritten note from her. I hope you'll come. He still doesn't understand what he did, but part of him is scared to admit it. You were right to walk away. Maybe he needs to see you stand your ground in person. I stared at that note for a long time before tossing it in the trash. July 16th, the wedding day, I spent it on a beach in Santa Cruz, riding a rented bike along cliffs, feeling the salty wind like a reset button. I didn't check my phone until after sunset. 1 missed call, 1 message from Mom. He kept looking at the door all night, like he was waiting for you. I stared at it but didn't reply. Not to punish her or him, but because I was done playing savior for people who never saved a seat for me. August brought a surprise. I ran into Brian's fiancée, now his wife, at a bookstore. She looked thinner, paler, like she was forcing herself to smile through broken glass. She froze when she saw me, then walked over. I didn't expect to see you. I live here, I said. She hesitated. We moved back in with your parents. Of course. They offered, she added quickly. Just temporary. Brian's job didn't work out. He's still figuring things out. Always is. She looked down, rubbing her hands nervously. He's not handling it well. Not my problem, I said. Then she looked up, eyes red-rimmed. I know. I wish you were his brother. That stuck with me longer than I thought it would, not because I felt sorry for Brian, but because for the first time, someone actually saw it. I didn't say anything. Just nodded and walked away with my book. September, my birthday came and went with no expectations. But just before noon, a package arrived, no return address. Inside was a plain black box with a folded card and one line. You were right. About everything. I'm sorry. The box held the same whiskey I brought on Christmas Eve, still sealed. They never opened it. I stared at the bottle a while, then went to my balcony, opened it myself, and poured a glass. Just for me. By November, I'd sold my condo and moved out of state. New place, bigger windows, fresh furniture, no ghosts. The last step was changing my phone number, deleting old backups, and burning the final bridge. But before cutting ties completely, I wrote one last message. Copied it and sent it to Mom, Dad, and Brian. Same message to all. No more negotiations. This is the last message you'll get from me. I'm not angry. I'm just done. I gave you everything: time, money, love, patience. You used it, spent it, and called it normal. Then you left me standing. Literally. I'm not standing anymore. I'm walking away. For good. No hard feelings. Just hard boundaries. Goodbye. So, and finally I let go. Peacefully. Here's what really matters. I don't miss them. Not the guilt, the manipulation, or the awkward silences after every no I dared to say. Not the invisible weight of holding the family up while they built castles on my back. What I miss is who I was around them. The guy who thought being needed meant being loved. He's gone now. Replaced by someone stronger, smarter, freer. So yeah, maybe I missed Christmas dinner. Maybe I stood outside a house I paid for, holding a gift no one wanted. But walking away? That was the greatest gift I ever gave myself. And the last gift I'll ever give them.